Okay, ladies, tell us about Shades of Intimacy, the workshop.
If you are a couple that you really feel as if you have hit a stuck place where you are neutral, where you don't have polarity, you don't have sexual passion, you don't know how to elicit that sexual passion, Shades of Intimacy is a workshop to rekindle that. We have tools of transformation that are yogic tools of breath and sound and movement that help you connect and find that deeper place of intimacy. I think a lot of times people don't know what they really want. And we're going to teach you the different dynamics of masculine and feminine so that you can dive deeper into love and passion.
And for me, Shades of Intimacy is also kind of how Suzanne said, it's for couples, it's for singles. It's an uncovering of what intimacy actually means. So I think in our world, often we're not making eye contact with people. We're not taking the time to really slow down and be with someone. And to me, Shades of Intimacy is just taking simple building blocks. It's taking the simplicity of intimacy and really discovering what that means in our world with our partner, with our family, with the people that we love, with our friends. So it's taking time to really slow down and uncover what that means.
We call it Shades of Intimacy because people think relationship and passion is very black and white, that when you were very first together, you had this very hot, heated, intense dynamic. But as you stay longer in relationship, you start to recognize that there are many more subtle flavors that start to be elicited through that. And it's those subtle flavors, those subtle shades, those subtle colorings that come out that actually really make it juicy and really give it that depth that you really are longing for. And I think the feminine really wants variety. It wants that change. I think the masculine wants the variety and change too. And we're going to show you tools of how to create that are fun and easy to do, and that you feel like you are skilled at the end of the 3 days to actually be able to go home and work with those tools.
Can you speak to the loss of passion and intimacy after the initial burst that often accompanies a new relationship? Tell me about that loss when it gets muddled and what was magic seems to just go away. What's happening with that?
I think for a lot of relationships, so again, when you start out a relationship, you're very much polarized. So the one person in the couple takes on this kind of flowing, surrendered type of energy, a softer type of energy in some ways. The other one tends to take on this very solid kind of directing type of energy. And it's a fun dance. It's new, it's fresh, it's a dance that we all love. But as you continue to evolve in your relationship, that becomes lost, because early on in a relationship, sometimes it's easy to create your relationship in a bubble. It's easy to create your relationship outside of the scope of normal day life. But the longer your relationship goes, the more intertwined your relationship becomes with everyday life, with kids, with family, with having to clean the house, with jobs, with everything that you have to do, the full scope of your life. And because of that, you start to lose the charge, or you start to lose the ability to navigate how to get back to that place of the dance. And so with the Shades of Intimacy workshop, what we do is we recreate the dance. And again, sometimes it can be very, very simple, but it's coming back to a place where realizing the essential nature of that dance and understanding how to create that dance in your everyday life. You can't shut out your life altogether, so you have to be able to navigate and find the dance within your life.
And I think that we become lazy. I think in our life we get lazy about taking time for our intimacy, taking time for our love life. And this is that moment. This workshop is that moment that you get to have 3 days of a concentrated dose of intimacy, deep intimacy, real intimacy, where you really connect on those levels that are sometimes even nonverbal. They're about breathing with each other, looking at each other, connecting with each other on that very deep level. And I find that as a woman for myself, that if I have that in a concentrated dose, I'm actually good for quite a long period of time. And it's about taking those small moments into your life that you don't have to do this 24/7, but you do have to take a moment every day to really meet your mate, to be with them, to breathe with them, to look them deeply in the eyes, to take 5 minutes to connect on that level of heart space. And the Shades of Intimacy workshop is a place where you get to connect so deeply for 3 days that it's such a powerful experience that you never lose that connection ever again, because you have anchored in such a deep place of trust with your mate. You know his or her heart. You know that they are doing their very best in that moment to connect. And you have tools that you worked on in the workshop that you can take home, and you can call each other out and you can say, hey, I need to be with you right here, right now. I need to do that exercise from the workshop with you. And instantly that person understands exactly what you're doing, what you're trying to create, and instantly you two connect. And it doesn't take long. It only takes 5, 10, 15 minutes a day to really connect, to make your life, your relationship still stay juicy, because life is always going to have kids and problems and this and that, but you have to learn to have a discipline that your mate is the center of your world. And when you have that center really solid, you have more love to share with your family and your kids.
The other beautiful thing that I love about what Suzanne just said is the Shades of Intimacy really does start to create this vocabulary between you and your partner. So a lot of what we learn about intimacy, about relationship, we learned from watching our parents, our grandparents. And for a lot of us, there was no vocabulary there. And in some instances, it may have been a horrendous experience altogether. And so Shades of Intimacy really helps provide us this common ground that when we speak certain words, or we ask for certain things, or even when we start to move more into the energetic realms, our partner starts to understand what we're looking for. So it really does create this understanding and this place where we can all start to understand what we're talking about when we talk about intimacy. Because if you think about it, growing up, throughout your life, that's not a part of our vocabulary. And we can always feel it. We can feel it when it's missing. We can feel it when it's there. But we don't know how to use our bodies, our words, to cultivate that in our lives.
And I also think that what I love about the dynamic between Jennie and Jason and I is that we've all known each other for a very long time, and we've danced the dance with each other on the tools of transformation. And they've shared with me their experiences, and I've shared with them my experiences, and we've created this incredibly full dynamic of tools that we want to help you with. And I know as a woman, it's like I learned so much from Jennie, and I know that she's learned so much from me. And I think sometimes in the feminine culture, it's hard for other women to share those deep places of intimacy with another woman. And that's what we cultivate in the workshop, that there are going to be moments where the women are with the women and the men are with the men, and the women get to share those really deep things. And that is so powerful for me as a woman, and I know the men feel the same way, that the men need to have a band of brothers that they bounce ideas off of and try things out with and are called out on. And women need the same thing. We need women to show us, like, oh wow, you did that. Did that work? Why did that work? How did that work? And actually to have tools that another woman has done. I've learned the most from learning from other women by their willingness to share from that deep, open-hearted space about their truth and their intimacy.
You spoke a moment about the common language that you give people. Can you speak to the terms masculine, feminine, and polarity and what they actually mean?
To me, so masculine and feminine, they're basically energies. So I think in society sometimes we get very hung up on these terms masculine and feminine, and sometimes we apply masculine to the gender of male and feminine to the gender of female. But what we work with in the Shades of Intimacy workshop is that the masculine is it's a flavor of energy, and the feminine is a flavor of energy. So in very simple terms, the masculine, it is a still energy, it's a very present energy, it's a very strong energy. So the way that I envision it is the masculine truly is, it's that tree in the windstorm, that it is solid, it is rooted, but it can still move with the wind. To me, the feminine, on the other hand, is the wind. So the feminine is much more motion, fluid, flowing. It's emotion. It's Mother Nature. So where you have the tree that's solid and can move with the feminine is movement. There's another piece of the feminine that is the concept of surrender. So the feminine is the energy that becomes penetrated by the masculine. The feminine is the inviting energy. It's the enticing energy. Whereas the masculine, it's the penetrating energy. It's what becomes invited in by the feminine.
And I think in our culture, especially in Western culture, we have a very masculine, polarized reality. So Jennie works in a big major corporation. I have my own corporation. And so all day long, as women, we have to cultivate our masculine. We have to be on task, we have to be directed, and we have to be totally present. And everyone has within them that masculine and feminine quality. But what Jennie and I have discovered is that within us, we have a feminine sexual essence, even though in our world, we have to have sometimes a masculine shell. So we have to go out into the world and be in our masculine shell. And Western women do this extremely well because we've been training to do this for about 50, 60 years. But when I get home, I'm exhausted. And what I have found in my life is that holding that masculine nonstop and not having opportunity to drop into my feminine is actually not healthy for me. It is actually not good for me. So I find Western women actually have to learn to cultivate their feminine. And we all have that balance between us. And a lot of women are going to look at me and say I'm very masculine. And a lot of women are going to look at Jennie and say she's very feminine. And we laugh because we feel like we have both inside of us and we can shape shift between them because we're a choice about that. In your intimacy, if you have a feminine sexual essence, you want to be in your intimacy in your feminine sexual essence and allow your partner to be in their masculine sexual essence to create that polarity. It's that polarity that creates attraction. So if I come home from work and I'm in my masculine and my man is in his masculine, then all there is masculine, and there's no polarity and there's no passion, and you get a lot done, you get business done, and you get things organized, but you don't have that sexual passion. So what we try and teach in the Shades of Intimacy is how to choose in and out of those at different times, and why focusing on that polarity and noticing what the polarity is will either enhance your relationship or it will neutralize it. And there are moments that you need to do both, but are you at choice? So when we find couples that are very stagnant in their passion, they have lost understanding of noticing the polarity and choosing in on that polarity at different moments, and also cultivating that polarity. Jennie and I, because we have such a strong masculine, we have to go to Zumba and we have to do yoga and we have to have bubble baths and we have to cultivate it when we get in the door to support our masculine person, our partner in our life being in his masculine. It's our job to figure out how to cultivate our feminine. Now again, there are people that are flipped, which is really fine if you're flipped and one person that's the woman is always in the masculine and the man is in his feminine. That's fine if that works as the polarity for you, and we will work with that too. But it's about noticing it and being at choice.
And I think a big question that we get, especially from women, is this question of, well, I love my masculine, it gets a lot done, what's wrong with my masculine? And I think Suzanne touched on that, where there's absolutely nothing wrong with the masculine at all. In fact, if I went to work and did what I do in my feminine, I would get fired. It would be a disaster. There would be certain benefits to it, and that's not to say that in my work I don't switch subtly between the poles as needed, but by and large, to have that direction, to have that penetration in my job is essential. But when it comes to the dance, so when we talk about really embodying a masculine pole or a feminine pole, where that becomes incredibly useful is in the dance of polarity, in the dance of sexual energy. So again, if I came to my mate in a very masculine way and he's also in a very masculine state of energy, there's no polarity there. We'll get a lot done, we'll butt heads, we'll be very productive and fight with each other maybe, but as far as sexual energy, that we won't cultivate that from that state. So my preference in a sexual energy is to be in my feminine. My partner's preference in a sexual energy is to be in his masculine. So there is absolutely no judgment on where you are, and we all have to be different things. A man needs to be able to nurture his children. Well, that's feminine in essence. I need to be able to go out in the world and kick ass. That can be viewed as masculine. But when we want to engage in the dance of polarity, engage in the dance of intimacy, rekindle a fire, then it's very helpful if one embodies a certain pole and the other embodies the opposite pole.
And I find that women especially have a fear of stepping into their feminine, and they're afraid of stepping into their feminine because there's so much emotion there. And you can actually tell how you are based on how much you're willing to move your body. So moving your body is essential to being able to access the divine feminine and being able to release emotions through your body. So, when you're at school, you're taught to sit still, don't move. And that is really counterintuitive for the feminine. The feminine actually learns through movement. Through movement, you release emotions. And so when we're dealing with the feminine, especially, there's music and there's movement and there's sound and there's breath. And those are really essential keys for the feminine to open. And it's incredible how you just create a container that allows the feminine to do that. The women will blast open and they'll like it and they'll feel better and they have more energy and they have more vitality. And they're suddenly like, oh my gosh, I've been exhausting myself trying to hold this masculine presence. What if I let go and surrendered and allowed my man to be that masculine presence, or my mate to be that masculine presence? And I actually get to flow. I actually get to feel into my own organic flow. And every woman's flow is totally different. And there's not a good feminine and a bad feminine, a right feminine and a wrong feminine. There's just feminine. And there's a million flavors of feminine. And so just because I do feminine one way and Jennie does it another doesn't mean one is better than another. We're trying in the workshop of Shades of Intimacy to create a container for you to explore that. Mm-hmm. And you need safety to explore that. And until you have that safety to explore that and feel into other women, like I said before, I've learned so much from watching other women and being with other women and going, wow, she did that so effortlessly. I am so locked up inside of myself. I have a judgment or a fear of releasing a particular flavor of feminine, a particular flavor of energy. And ladies out there, you have to know that what is so amazing for the masculine with the feminine is observing her in those different flavors and flows. And so we have these rules that say, I've got to be a good girl. And so then the bad girl goes in the closet. Well, the bad girl in the bedroom could be really fun every once in a while. And so learning how to be a choice again about that and to know that you've tapped into that with a group of women and then you bring that into your intimacy with your man is incredibly enriching for him. It's incredibly enriching for your relationship and your passion.